pandemic. Banks' credits to the manufacturing sector rose to 3.19 trillion naira as of December 2020 from 2.62 trillion naira at the end of 2019. According to sectoral analysis of banks' credits by the Central Bank of Nigeria, the sector was said to have received the second biggest share of the credit from the banks after the oil and gas sector, which got 5.18 trillion naira as of December. The manufacturing sector, which is the engine of sustainable growth, is still struggling with the debilitating impact of the pandemic and is yet to recuperate. That's according to the Director General, Manufacturers Association of Nigeria, Mr. Segun Kadri. MAN, in a general report, revealed that most manufacturers said commercial banks' lending rates were discouraging productivity in the sector. And so there is no way anyone will be borrowing at 26%, and then it would be encouraging. The report said 71% of chief executive officers interviewed disagreed that the rate at which commercial banks lend to manufacturers encourages productivity. It said the cost of borrowing in the country remained at double digits, even amidst the reforms meant to culminate in lower rates to engender the country's economic recovery process. The report said special single-digit loans offered by development banks are still hard to leverage, as conditionalities to assess the loans through commercial banks are often overwhelming and laden with additional charges that will eventually make the interest rate double-digit at the end of the day. Well, so you heard right there the issue about the manufacturing firms borrowing 570 billion naira from banks in 2020. Now let's take some stories concerning the food traders and the blockage. The Kogi State Governor, Yaya Bello, on Thursday met the President, Major General Muhammadu Buhari, retired, as part of ongoing efforts to further pacify members of the Amalgamated Union of Foodstuff and Cattle Dealers in Nigeria, who called off their strike on Wednesday. While the strike lasted, members of AUFCDN had blocked the movement of cattle and foodstuffs from the northern part of the country to the south. But they called off the strike on Wednesday following the intervention of the governor and the former Minister of Aviation, Femi Fani-Kayode. The President, Muhammadu Tahir, had said the strike was called off following the federal government's promise to pay 4.75 billion naira compensation, stop multiple taxes, and ensure protection of their members, among others. And so reaction have continued to trail the recent blockade of food and cattle from the north to the south by some ethnic agitators and interest group, consequently resulting in an increase in price of food item and beef in the market, with calls of criticism from some quarters. Though the retaliatory move was as a result of prevailing security challenges, coupled with some ethnic clashes in the southern region, but the action and its multiple implications on the availability and prices of meat, vegetables and other goods from the north have shown how deeply dependent the south has become in terms of food supply. In this special report, David Bello takes a look at the current situation, underscoring the importance of a wake-up call to the southern region.
Just last week, in a retaliatory effort to register grievances over alleged killings of some northern settlers and traders in the southwest, trucks conveying food items and cattle were reportedly stopped from entering Jaba Town, a Kwara State border town with Niger State, on their way to the southwest. Though the blockade had been dismantled and the truck bearing food items and cattle could have a thoroughfare into the southwest, but most traders and customers said the prices of these food products have yet to normalize.
This is crazy increase in price. Tomatoes, how many seedlings are these ones? Maybe around 5 or 6 for 300 naira. At this time, that we're supposed to have it in excess.
The amount of tomato I used to buy before at the rate of 200 now goes for 500 naira. The pepper we used to buy for like 100 naira, 200 naira what is now 400 naira.
We are trusting God that it will come down.
We're running 30,000. That is 55,000.
I was saying onion. Day before yesterday, onion is too cost because you know they enter. If you look now, especially there's no market now. After there's no market, you don't go see the market when you carry go and sell. Market when you start buying 10,000. As you reach, they go tell you say 25,000, 30,000.
There had been outbursts, condemnation, criticism from various quarters as some social cultural groups in the southwest have adjudged the move a blessing in disguise, with optimism that the region will now begin to look inward and work out robust agricultural plans that would stir up food sufficiency and save the region the embarrassment of such a reoccurrence. When asked what possible lessons the southwest region could learn from this attitude of reliance on other regions for most of its food supplies, these respondents and customers in some of the markets visited in Ibadan have this to say.
Our southwest governors should take a bull by the horn, do all necessary things to boost food security.
It is that the West should actually find a way of also growing their own agricultural supply chain. That's just the truth, because most of those things can grow here.
We've been saying it for long. It's not now that we should look inward, not until when we have an issue. Everybody should go back to the farm.
But could it be that most people from the southwest region would lazily prefer white and blue-collar jobs than returning to the farm? This don't shed more light.
It's not laziness, so I will not lie to you. If I want to start agric work now, there is a particular capital required to start it. So now the capital is not available. Accessing the one that microfinance is giving us is crazy. People have taken loans and they are run into trouble. So they stop taking loans. So if fund is available, we will do agriculture. If they are sincere, agriculture is practical. It is not what you go on the TV and you speak big grammar. No.
This public commentator equally noted that with the number of agricultural research institutes in the south, the region stands at an advantage in ensuring food sufficiency.
We have a lot of research institutes that can promote our productivity, farm produce, that can make them efficient for our consumption. I still believe we have what it takes to provide and produce the things we need. There's nothing we cannot grow in this region.
Foremost legal luminary, Chief Seun Akinola equally called for a rethink to change the paradigm.
We discovered that practically every Yoruba man or woman you see on the street of the north is a skilled labor. It's not about luxury. We must put on our thinking cap. Our relationship with our northern brothers will be that of mutual respect. That's not an excuse for anybody to come and invade our land and destroy it. That's what I'm saying. And that is where we, the intellectuals of Yoruba nation, are feeling.
If government begins to show practical concern for food sufficiency in the southwest by providing adequate support system for farmers to access credit facilities and other farm amenities, perhaps the south might not be threatened or starved of food supply by any region in the nearest future. In Ibadan, David Bello reporting.
Thank you very much, David Bello, for that incisive report on the food blockage story. So we'll continue to watch that space and get you more from the ideas around that thought. The North and the Rest of Us is one article in the Punch newspaper which chronicled the history of the pseudo-federation under the control of the president of Nigeria today. And so if you critically look at this article, the suspicious silence of the president and the federal government on the issue has become too deafening to the victims of the atrocities of these people. This again is aggravated by the overt and covert support of the northern elite for the terrorists. When the governor in the south ordered the killer headsmen to vacate their hideouts and government forest reserves, the northern elite cried out foul. To them, because they are northerners, the Fulani are free to engage in any kind of activity. That's something that we have been working against. You know, the idea of criminalizing a part because of the action of a few. Anyway, we will continue also on these issues. The next issue this morning is for us to look at the issue around our economy. And I'm going to take you through that issue in a moment. Before we go for our first break today, I will let you into the ideas running through our head as we give you the insight into the economy this morning. All right, so let's go this way. In November 2020, the National Economic Summit took place where the president was expected to give a speech concerning the summit. He was also expected to declare the summit open on that day. But the vice president represented him. And in that occasion, he gave a moving speech about the Nigeria's economy. And so I'm going to take you through a bit of that speech this morning so that you can see what the government was thinking way back 2020. And so, he said, over the years, the forum NES has provided a veritable platform for an engaging and sincere dialogue on the economy between the public and private sector. The president said the NSG deserves our commendation for their real and virtual efforts to ensure that this summit holds against all odds. The summit's title or theme for that year was Building Partnerships for Resilience. So I'll start from this point. Partnership is very key in a federation where you have the northern and the southern part. But when the partnership is based on inequality, and then a partnership may not be able to survive. When I say inequality, let's look at the map. If you have an access to the map of Nigeria, look at the place occupied by what we call the north today, and look at the space occupied by what we call the south today. The economics of such a space and partnership is not equal. There is no equality in that partnership. So our national journey to economic prosperity is a long one. So we must all certainly work together, as we saw partnerships were essential when we're faced with the serious challenge of combating COVID-19 pandemic. Those are the words of the Vice President. We'll be taking a break in a moment, but before we go for that break, he said we saw the key role that partnerships played in our national effort to combat the COVID-19 crisis, while federal and state governments work together to manage the wealth of the nation and work together to manage the health response and ensure the establishment of isolation centers, availability of test kits, personal protective equipment and medicines. The private sector also played an active role as individual entities and also worked together in groups like the Coalition Against COVID, that's CACOVID. So, he said we must bear in mind that this decline was after 12 successive quarters of positive growth when Nigeria entered into recession. Good enough, we're now out of the recession, which was by 3.62%. It's minus 3.62%. We can all recall of the cause that during the lockdown, farming did not take place, businesses were closed, schools were closed, as well as hotels and restaurants. Also, airlines stopped flying, while interstate commerce was equally disrupted. And that led us into minus 6.1% decline in the economic performance in the fourth quarter, and that took us into the recession. Now, it was to mitigate this impact that the federal government introduced the Economic Sustainability Plan. All the programs in the ESP are reliant on the private sector playing a key role in creating and conserving jobs and the production and delivery of services in agriculture, housing, solar power, and digital technologies, to mention just a few of the sector. I'll bring you the full interaction of that speech after this break. Stay with us.
One is better. Bet huge wins from high odds all the way with the fastest payout. Take more of our winning advantages from your deserving bets on all sports. Because with OneXBet, everyone can win. What about you? Visit our website on onexbet.ng. Use promo code BETNG and get up to 200% bonus on your first deposit. Yes, 200% bonus on your first deposit. OneXBet. Bets for every taste.
Are you a petroleum dealer? Do you own petrol tankers? Are you a depot manager? 7117 is the number for you. 7117 is for you. Yeah, to check your products, yeah, and check your payments, transactions. 7117 on your phone. Check your delivery schedule. Yeah. It's so convenient. 7117 is for you.
Introducing Downstream Remote Monitoring System, DRMS, for petroleum products depots, retail outlets to monitor and manage all petroleum products activities using *7117#. DRMS is powered by the Department of Petroleum Resources, DPR, Petroleum Regulatory Agency of Nigeria.
Capture your world in stunning detail with the new Nokia 5.4. With a powerful 48MP quad camera and advanced video recording, giving you total creative control. Its generous 2-day battery life means your phone is there for you and your family when you need it most. Whether it's for work or play, you can see more on the 6.39 HD Plus screen. Nokia smartphones. Trusted, always secure, and built to last.
You see that your cousin, we not dey carry last for food matter. And that your niece, we not like to chop better thing.
No, I know the shop am.
What about the uncle? We not get shit. And that your guy, we always like drink the last Coca-Cola. We sabi them. But without them, food not is sweet. Coca-Cola and food together tastes better.
Taste the feeling.
My name is Data Lover Joe Mapel. Any wolf I go know I'm well. Oh, MTN Pulse don't come ring my bell. What's this I hear of data just for the night? You see, I'm a very, very big guy, but I don't joke with my giggy bites. So MTN get the free the guy with this data plan for the midnight. 11 p.m. to 6 a.m. 2 gig, go boy, I can live the life. IG, TikTok is ready to go. Oh boy, I'm feeling fine because 11 to 6 in the morning. IG, TikTok, balling. 2 gig, there for me. MTN Pulse, yes, of course, MTN Pulse.
MTN Pulse. Do you? Dial *406# to join. Everywhere you go, MTN.
Uncle Dentist, wetin be cavities and how Colgate take dey protect my teeth from cavities? Shey dey use comfort?
No dear, na hole for teeth dey cause most tooth pain wey be cavity. But if you use Colgate Maximum Cavity Protection take brush every day, the confirmed formula go help keep natural calcium inside our teeth wey go protect them from tooth decay.
Time don reach to upgrade to the world's most chosen toothpaste, Colgate, because Colgate locks calcium in.
Now, the Nigerian Dental Association, they recommend Colgate.
Hello, everyone. Have you been on the lookout for a job or looking for that income? Well, search no further. As BetKing, the playground for kings, is here to support your dreams. Become a BetKing agent in your area and start earning weekly commissions up to 30% of your sales and monthly bonuses. Interested individuals can call Super Agents at Debowale on 081-563-60744 or WhatsApp on 081-091-41096.
Ìròyìn ayọ̀ ti wọlé dé o fún gbogbo ènìyàn.
Ǹjẹ́ ìwọ ń wá iṣẹ́ tàbí ohun tó lè máa mú owó wọlé wá fún ọ? Máa ń jìnnà. Àǹfààní aláìlẹ́gbẹ́ ti ọ̀dọ̀ BetKing wá fún ọ láti mú àlá rẹ wá sí ìmúṣẹ. Di aṣojú BetKing lágbègbè rẹ lónìí. Kó o sì bẹ̀rẹ̀ sí ní jẹ èrè ìdá 15% lórí nǹkan tó bá tà lọ́sọ̀ọ̀sẹ̀ àti àjẹmọ́nú lóṣooṣù. Ẹnikẹ́ni tó bá ní ìfẹ́ sí àǹfààní yìí lè pe aṣojú BetKing Adébọ̀wálé sórí 0815-636-0744 tàbí lórí WhatsApp pẹ̀lú 0810-914-1096. BetKing, pápá ìṣeré fún àwọn ọba.
Wow, it's here.
What's that? What's here, Mom?
The new Maxi 20 hand sanitizer.
Tell me about it, Mom.
The new Maxi 20 hand sanitizer is carefully produced to help us fight germs and provide the right protection for every family.
Introducing the new Maxi 20 hand sanitizer to help you fight germs every day.
Mom, now I can clean up germs that touch my hand and be fine, right?
Yes, son, you can, because Maxi 20 will keep you protected.
Yippee!
Maxi 20, war on germs. Another quality product from Intercontinental Distillers Limited.
We thank you for being there. It's still Splash 105.5 FM, your integrity station. Let's take a look at this issue. As I said, what the Vice President said when he was at that event. He said the private sector is responsible for the desired local production, provision of services, and associated logistics across the agricultural value chain. Here is the Vice President, Professor Yemi Osinbajo, at the NES Summit 2020.
It is no longer news, of course, that the economy officially entered into recession with the release of the third quarter figures on gross domestic product by the National Bureau of Statistics, which showed a decline in growth of minus 3.62% in that quarter. We must bear in mind that this decline was after 12 successive quarters of positive growth and came about as a result of the severity of the global downturn caused by the COVID-19 pandemic, including lockdowns, disruption in global supply chains, business failures, and rising unemployment. We can all, of course, recall that during the lockdown, farming did not take place. Businesses were closed. Schools were closed, as were hotels and restaurants. And also airlines stopped flying, while interstate commerce was disrupted. The retail trade, of course, also dropped. The economy only began to recover when these activities resumed. And if we were able to sustain the nearly 3 percentage point increase from the second quarter decline of minus 6.1%, the performance in the fourth quarter could take us into positive territory. It was to mitigate this impact that the federal government introduced the Economic Sustainability Plan. All the programs in the ESP, that's the Economic Sustainability Plan, are reliant on the private sector playing a key role in creating and conserving jobs and the production and delivery of services in agriculture, in housing, in solar power, and digital technologies, to mention just a few sectors. To take the example of agriculture, with the support of the banking sector, the federal government is working to organize finance for farmers, and we're also guaranteeing uptake of the produce. This is the mass agriculture program which the federal government has undertaken. 5 million farmers have so far been registered and their geotagged to their farmlands, and about 1.5 million of them have already been cleared for credit. On this part, the private sector is also responsible for the desired local production, provision of services, and associated logistics across the agricultural value chain. We expect that the larger companies and the firms operating in all sectors of the economy will also build on this spirit of partnership by supporting small businesses, especially by including them in value chains as suppliers, as distributors, as contract manufacturers, as service providers, amongst other things. Meanwhile, The federal government has provided COVID-19 payroll support to over 16,000 businesses so far, with 101,000 of their employees getting between 30 to 50,000 in salaries over a 3-month period in the initial phase. Up to 500,000 employees will be covered in this way, in addition to the support being extended to artisans and to road transport workers. In addition to the positive interventions in the ESP, the federal government is also sending the 2020 finance bill to further boost economic activity. Some of its provisions include the reduction in duties on tractors, motor vehicles for transportation of goods and persons, the exemption of small companies from payment of education tax under the Tertiary Education Trust Fund, TET Fund. Companies with less than 25 million in turnover are eligible for this exemption. There's also a 50% reduction in minimum tax from 0.5% to 0.25% for gross turnover for the financial years ending between January 1st, 2020 and December 31st, 2021. There's also a tax relief to companies that donated to the COVID-19 Relief Fund under the private sector coalition. Exemption of minimum wage earners from personal income tax. So we're also proposing in the new Finance Act that those who earn a minimum wage will be exempted completely from personal income tax. These provisions, which complement the tax breaks given to small businesses last year, will only further stimulate the economy, but are also a fulfillment of promises made to take steps to help reduce the cost of transportation and the impact of inflation on the ordinary Nigerians. I'll just pause at this point to make a comment about the reduction in duties on motor vehicles. The point of the reduction in levies on motor vehicles and commercial vehicles for transportation is to reduce the cost of transportation by reducing the cost of vehicles. With subsidy removal and the increase in fuel price and the pass-through to food prices, transportation costs, of course, had to be reduced. Now, the automotive policy is directed at localizing production of vehicles. So the logic has always been and remains that if we increase the duty and levies on imported cars and imported vehicles, local production becomes more competitive. And this is a compelling argument, and we stand by this argument. But the annual demand for vehicles is about 720,000 vehicles per year. But actual local production of vehicles today, by the assembly plants that we have, is in the order of about 14,000 vehicles a year. So 720,000 is the demand. 14,000 vehicles a year is the supply. So the problem is that at current rates of production, we will not meet the serious national needs, and this will just mean higher prices of vehicles and greater strain on other sectors of the economy that depend on transportation. At a time of a national economic emergency, especially with rising food prices, rising transportation prices, we certainly have to take some steps which we hope in the end will not necessarily ruin what we're trying to do in the auto sector, and I'm going to explain why that is so, but also will energize other sectors of the economy that were depressed on account of high transportation costs. As I said, we're not giving up on the auto industry or the auto industry policy. Two important things to note. The first is that we still have relatively high duty. There's still a 40% in all when you add duty and the remaining 5% levy. There's still a 40% levy on cars. So there is a disincentive for importation. The second is that we are also promoting a policy that governments must buy only locally manufactured cars. So we'll be relying on governments to buy. The federal government, for one, is committing to buying only locally assembled cars. And we'll be relying on governments, the subnationals also, to commit to buying only locally produced vehicles. And we believe that if governments themselves commit to buying locally produced vehicles, we will be able to take up most of what is being produced locally, and of course begin a pathway to having our own auto industry. There is a speedy pathway out of the current recession. If we quicken the implementation of the Economic Sustainability Plan, in addition with what we have done for MSMEs, the increased jobs and local production from agriculture, from housing and solar installations will serve to boost the economy. Indeed, when we complete the deployment of the 774,000 jobs, 1,000 jobs in every local government, this will give further impetus to these efforts. These programs will further improve sectors that are performing well, such as telecommunications and information services, which grew by 17.3% in the third quarter, and the finance and insurance sector, and agriculture, and construction, which also grew in that period. Of course, an improvement in global economic conditions, including the restoration of global supply chains and the resumption of exports and remittances, should enable a V-shaped recovery. We expect in the same spirit of partnership that the private sector will complement these efforts by making maximum use of the provisions of the ESP and the Finance Bill when it is passed by the National Assembly, and also by retaining and creating jobs so as to keep people at work. In a similar spirit of partnership, private sector enterprises should also pay their due taxes. In the context of planning, the private sector, notably the Nigerian Economic Summit Group, is working with the Ministry of Finance, Budget and National Planning to draw up a successor medium-term plan to the Economic Recovery and Growth Plan, as well as the 2050 National Vision. As work proceeds in a consultative manner on developing these plans and frameworks, it is clear that we must diversify the economy away from dependence on crude oil, and we must speed up human capital development and improve on infrastructure. Above all, our economy must be made more resilient to exogenous shocks. It's important for the private sector to play a key role as we work together to identify national priorities and to influence our future national trajectory. It is our conglomerates, our firms, our companies, and businesses that must make use of existing opportunities while adjusting to changing global realities in trade, in finance, in geopolitics, in digital technologies, and the environment, among other things. The recent ratification of the African Continental Free Trade Area and all of the agreements is particularly pertinent in this regard. Government worked very closely with the private sector to undertake the AFC-FTA impact and readiness assessment before signing up to the treaty. The private sector is also part of the National Action Committee for the implementation of the AFC-FTA, co-chaired by the Honorable Minister of Industry, Trade and Investment, and the Honorable Minister of Finance, Budget and National Planning. The work of this committee is vital to ensure that Nigeria can participate effectively in the free trade area once trading starts. The private sector must contribute to the articulation of the national strategy, provide support to our negotiators and processes while taking full advantage of the opportunities provided by this free trade area. This government has always emphasized that the private sector has a critical role to play in our efforts to build a more resilient and competitive economy, as expressed in the Economic Recovery and Growth Plan. Private companies in design, in construction, in logistics, in transportation and finance are very much engaged in our infrastructural projects, in power and rail, as well as roads and bridges, and the installation of broadband infrastructure, which is an essential requirement if Nigeria is to participate actively and benefit from the fourth industrial revolution. It goes without saying that partnerships remain essential to attract the resources for building a solid national infrastructural base. I'm pleased to inform in this regard that we're working actively with the Central Bank, the Nigeria Sovereign Investment Authority, and state governments under the auspices of the National Economic Council to design and put in place a 15 trillion Infraco fund, which will be independently managed. The Infraco fund will help to close the national infrastructural gap and provide a firm basis for increasing national economic productivity and growth. Your Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, the incredible advantage of our very large youth population is evident for all to see. The challenge, of course, is that we must educate, equip, train, and provide opportunities for them. Because of our numbers, that must be done on scale. Scale in education, in reskilling, in upskilling, in providing credit for young people, in technology, innovation, in manufacturing, and in all other aspects of economic endeavor. So the collaboration amongst public, private, and civil society is existential for us as a nation. We have no choice in doing so. Our entire budget of about 13 trillion is only 9% of GDP. 90% of GDP is actually provided by the private sector. So talking about a public-private partnership is really a no-brainer. We have absolutely no choice. We are committed to making that union and that synergy work. In closing, let me restate government's commitment to this dialogue process and assure you that we'll consider and adopt recommendations of the summit and ensure that they are implemented by relevant ministries, departments, and agencies. It's my sincere wish that working together, we will identify pathways to faster, equitable, and sustainable growth that will underpin national development.
Yeah, so if you keenly followed what the Vice President said there, you'll understand that they've got a lot of plans to make things work. I love the idea of the Infraco Fund, and we should be able to follow that up very well. Well, we'll take a break. When I come back, I'll just do a brief analysis of the subsidy regime in Nigeria and why we are facing the issue of fuel scarcity, particularly the scare earlier this week. Stay with us, don't go away. It's still Economic Searchlight on Splash 105.5.
Sweetheart, you know I have just been paid for the last project I handled, and I really want to invest the money this time.
Oh, that's a brilliant idea, my love. Then Fresh Farms is your best option.
Fresh Farms?
In fact, you have access to your dashboard and you can monitor your investment on pepper, cassava, tomato, yam, and many other agricultural products.
Fresh Farm is here. Our main goal is to provide you fresh food. This time around, farming is on another level. Cassava farming, olele, cashew farming, tomato and pepper farming, ensuring food surplus for we nation, Niger. Fresh Farms, provide fresh food.
Invest in any of our farm produce today and get amazing return on your investment. For inquiry, please call 0907-361-2624 or visit our website today at www.freshfarms.ng. Fresh Farms, spreading freshness.
Lights, camera, Lake On.
No, it's not an act. This is my life for all to see. In the bright lights, see blessings how they follow me. From small beginnings to big brother. From the chances I take to the inspiration I give others. I am a rapper, a singer, a winner. I am an icon. So when they turn the lights on, they see that I am Lake On.
Watch I Am Lake On, a brand new Showmax original reality series, only on Showmax.com.
Uncle Dentist, wetin be cavities and how Colgate take dey protect my teeth from cavities? Shey dey use Kung Fu?
No dear, na hole for teeth dey cause most tooth pain wey be cavity. But if you use Colgate Maximum Cavity Protection take brush every day, the confirmed formula go help keep natural calcium inside our teeth wey go protect them from tooth decay.
Time don reach to upgrade to the world's most chosen toothpaste, Colgate, because Colgate locks calcium in.
Now, the Nigerian Dental Association, they recommend Colgate.
The Polaris Save and Win promo gets more exciting as Polaris Bank customers continue to win millions of naira across the country. Be like Mr. Lucky Okunzuwa from Edo State.
1 million.
For Polaris Bank? I didn't expect.
Mr. and Mrs. Njideka from Ebonyi State.
We thank Polaris Bank for the promo and for the money they are going to give us.
Akorede Badigeshin from Oyo State.
They were surprised to pay 100,000 naira.
You too can be a millionaire in the Polaris Save and Win promo. Top up your account with a minimum of 10,000 naira monthly for 3 consecutive months to qualify, and you could be one of the 180 people to win 100,000 naira each, or one of 8 lucky people to win 1 million naira. So start saving today or open an account. Visit our website or any Polaris Bank branch near you. This promo runs till April 2021. Terms and conditions apply.
Find out your true beauty naturally. Keep your skin smooth and soft and moisturize. Step into paradise.
Take your skin on an exotic adventure with Hawaii soap. Infused with argan oil and fruit extracts from papaya, carrot, and apricot. Leaving your skin softer, brighter, and healthier. Hawaii soap comes in carrot, papaya calamansi, and gold variants. Stay beautiful with Hawaii soap. Hawaii soap, the soul of beauty.
Make the most of the new normal with Nokia smartphones. Stay connected to friends and family with phone calls and video chats for longer with a 2-day battery life. And capture the beauty around you, snapping and sharing crisp pictures. The Nokia 5.4, 3.4, and Nokia 1.4 make staying connected easier. Nokia smartphones. Trusted, always secure, and built to last.
Wow! It's here!
What's that? What's here, Mom?
The new Maxi 20 hand sanitizer.
Tell me about it, Mom.
The new Maxi 20 hand sanitizer is carefully produced to help us fight germs and provide the right protection for every family.
Introducing the new Maxi 20 hand sanitizer to help you fight germs every day.
Mom, now I can clean up germs that touch my hand and be fine, right?
Yes, son, you can, because Maxi 20 will keep you protected.
Yippee!
Maxi 20, war on germs. Another quality product from Intercontinental Distillers Limited.
All right, welcome back. Yeah, so it's our home run right now, 30 minutes to 12 on Splash 105.5 FM. So at this time, we want to look at how Nigeria is sinking under the weight of petrol subsidy as FG is failing to put in the works. A costly failure, Business Day said, which has hobbled Nigeria over the last 3 decades, is repeating itself in a spectacular way. Business Day reports that every day in Africa's most populous nation, an incredible 1.8 billion naira is lost to a profligate policy called petrol subsidy, also called under-recovery. That is the difference between the real and fixed price of petrol. And we've all seen where that has led us, even in these few days that we have experienced fuel scarcity in Nigeria, even in Ibadan here. So every day in Africa's most populous nation, an incredible 1.8 billion naira is lost to a profligate policy. The price difference is not provided in the budget of the federal government, but the cost is borne by all the same. And not many people do not know what it means when we talk about it. So we say here that not many in the country expect the government in power to summon the will to win the people of this expensive indulgence. As much as 1st of March 2021, the world's average retail of gasoline was $1.11 or 427 naira 35 kobo. The average retail price is 427 naira 35 kobo. The pump price across Nigeria is artificially maintained at 165 naira a litre. The huge arbitrage So if you look at the fact, the huge arbitrage opportunities behind the never-seen-before volumes being smuggled across the border to neighboring West African countries. So Nigeria is a continent's largest economy, no doubt, and the nation of 200 million people, 40% of whom are trapped in poverty. An even higher percentage do not have health insurance cover, and mortality is high across the various demographics. While the government continues with this policy, which benefits the elite in the main, baffles economists and even business leaders. I was going through an article in the Business Day, and it said the more you ask questions, the less you seem closer to the root of this rot in our economy. Less than a year ago, the government announced to the world that the pricing of petrol had been deregulated, and that it would no longer bear the suffocating cost of subsidizing petrol, a long overdue admission that it was a weight it was sinking under. A few days ago, rising oil price baffled industry players also point to a curious rise in the volume of petrol which government, the sole importer, is supplying the country. In 2018, the total volume of petrol, as it were, just taking a look back at 2018, so in 2018, the total volume of petrol, or PMS as it is called, supplied to the market averaged 53.5 million liters daily. This figure rose to 56.39 million in 2019 and stubbornly held at 55.73 million liters daily in 2020, when the country was under a lockdown and most of its land borders shut. Now, data available to researchers suggests that the average supply actually rose astronomically to 64 million liters a day in November last year, and it could have been as high as 67 million liters a day in January 2021. It is perhaps the case now that the NNPC, the national oil company, unable to maintain such a huge volume, might now be deliberately reducing daily supply to the market, and as such volumes may be at a managed supply level of, say, 55 million liters a day. Public finances in Nigeria rank among the most desperate in OPEC, hammered by a health pandemic and the economic lockdown that it occasioned, handcuffed by labor and over-pampered parliamentarians. The Nigerian government, according to Business Day, is threading the failed path of its predecessors by keeping petrol prices at levels not seen even among most endowed OPEC cartel members. Several government officials, including leaders of NNPC, agree that the subsidy regime is unsustainable. And you heard the vice president referring to subsidy in a speech earlier. And a number of state governors are fuming over the revenue loss that comes with the petrol subsidy. So, if you also have been watching the space, South Africa raises petrol price thrice in 90 days, while Nigeria prevaricates on its own. For those who understand it, the South African people will be hit by a 65 centiliter petrol price hike at midnight next week, Tuesday. I will be closing on this, but it seems that we need to rethink our economy, particularly when it comes to the issue of PMS. I'm Oluwaseun Akinola. I want to thank you for being part of this discussion and the program for today. We'll be back here next week, Friday at 11 a.m. for another edition of Economic Searchlight. Desmond Adegboyega has been of immense help on the program today, and I wish you a wonderful weekend. Good morning.
We've got the city on lockdown.
Got my own city that I hold down.
We are Splash 105.5.
Ladies and gentlemen, gentlemen.
What you understand? Good morning, sir. Hello.
Extra Pro.
My guy, then go wonder. I'm a legend in the making, a cake in the baking. Parada like earthquake, I'm shaking. It's not debating, we steady elevating. We're making money this year, it's no doubt or maybe. This is no joke, Okuni Kinshodo. PG strongly advised, this is mojo. I never hated on another man's success. I know they waste my effort on their hatred, that's not nonsense. Set life with no doubt of believing. But suppose you little don't stop believing. Things we get are for sure, but believe me. Don't be scared of that, you be scared of not leaving. Take a minute, go if you with me, dada. Oko wala mo purukusha, I won't love you, dada. I won't let you talkie, I won't let you panla. Cause anybody told you how I like it, zero lati better, how I will be tabade. I'll even take drum while I'm in the shalaye. Since game better, hey, deal, what's into a lady power with the henny, get a bami to okay, extra pro update, how far? Like Jal Africa, here I flew one bar. I live from one brush, I live from one lampa. If I know overtrain your best trap, I call me band spy. Me riot cheap dog, go to Penny Mobaka. OG, go swing grace, no the kilo baka. I'm on your up for me to ya where the Judo Capulo. I'm on your, I'm on 30 blow. Anybody back on. Back to the matter, infection, lily stand right. To bat low, Jamakwe mini my guy. Producer me my Jonah. Emi gafe live right. You remain the Benny Lee, Joy Jacko live life.
Where else? It's Splash 105.5.
Hope you're having a great time. I am having a great time because I am thinking about I Am Laycon. I'm sure we all remember I Am Laycon, the greatest icon in the Big Brother Naija house. You might be wondering that, okay, why do people like him this much? Why do all of his fans care so much about him? Maybe it's the fact that he showed through strength, humility, and uniqueness in his time.